They say Valentine's Day is supposed to be about love, but for me, it's a day that will forever be stained with dread. Mark, my boyfriend, wasn't the most romantic guy, but he tried. This past Valentine's Day, he gave me a giant teddy bear. I mean, huge. It was almost as tall as me. He'd gotten it from some pop-up shop downtown, swearing it was the softest thing he'd ever felt. Honestly, it was a bit much, but I appreciated the gesture. I named him Hugsy and propped him up on my bed in my small apartment. At first, everything was normal. I'd come home from my job at the library, tired and ready to crash. But after a week or so, I started noticing things. Small things. The dishes would be done, even though I was certain I'd left them in the sink. My laundry would be folded, neatly stacked on my dresser. At first, I thought I was just losing it from stress. Maybe I was doing these things and forgetting. Then came the dinners. I'd walk in, and the smell of something amazing would hit me. Lasagna, chicken pot pie, even sushi once. Restaurant-quality meals sitting on my tiny kitchen table under a flickering candle. I live alone. I hadn't told anyone about these meals, and I definitely didn't cook them. Naturally, I was freaked. I installed a cheap security camera I bought online, pointing it at my front door. I told myself it was just to catch a prowler, but deep down, I was terrified of what else it might record. The next day at work, I was a mess. Every creak of the library, every rustle of paper made me jump. I couldn't concentrate. Something was seriously wrong. I decided to leave work early, telling my boss I had a migraine. I took a cab back to my apartment, my heart pounding in my chest. I paid the driver, practically ran up the stairs, and fumbled with my keys. As I pushed open the door, the smell of roasted garlic and rosemary filled the air. And there, in my living room, was Hugsy. He was facing the kitchen, his large, button eyes seemingly fixated on something. The table was set. A perfectly roasted chicken sat steaming in the center. I slowly stepped inside, my breath catching in my throat. I stared at the bear. It just stood there, still and lifeless. Okay, I whispered to myself. This is ridiculous. It's just a bear. I took a step closer to the kitchen, and that's when I saw it. A faint shimmer of heat rising from the bear's fur. A subtle movement. Then, Hugsy turned his head, slowly, deliberately. His button eyes locked onto mine, and in that instant, I knew. It wasn't a prank. It wasn't sleep deprivation. This wasn't a normal situation. Panic seized me. I backed away, fumbling for my phone. I needed to call the police. Anyone. As I dialed, a voice, raspy and low, echoed from the direction of the kitchen.
Dinner's ready.
I dropped my phone. I turned and ran, slamming the door behind me and bolting down the stairs. I didn't stop running until I reached the police station. I told them everything. They looked at me like I was crazy, but they agreed to check it out. I waited for hours, pacing the waiting room, my nerves completely frayed. Finally, 2 officers returned, their faces grim. They hadn't found anyone in the apartment. No sign of forced entry, no sign of a struggle, just a teddy bear and a perfectly cooked meal. But that's not the worst part. The officers did some digging, trying to find out where Mark had bought the bear. They tracked down the pop-up shop. The owner remembered selling a giant bear to a young man fitting Mark's description. He also remembered where he'd gotten the stuffing. It came from an old mattress recycling plant on the edge of town. The plant used shredded materials from all sorts of places, including hospitals. The stuffing in Hugsy, they discovered, wasn't just any shredded material. It was mostly cotton. Cotton from the hospital's old kitchen uniforms. Uniforms that had belonged to a head chef who had died in a kitchen fire years ago. A chef known for his obsessive dedication to his craft, his immaculate kitchen, and his elaborate meals. A chef who, according to hospital staff, had always said he wanted his recipes to live on forever. They found traces of his cremated remains mixed in with the cotton. He was still cooking. He just needed a new kitchen and a body to work through. I haven't seen Mark since.